Drug abuse, porn literacy, pride festivals, and the abortion lobby are all being supported by Idaho's out-of-control bureaucrats, namely the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare. The agency spends billions of dollars of your money on programs that dissolve the nuclear family, break down communities, and entrench government dependence. Many Idahoans choose to live in this great state for its unique culture and values that make it a safe place for our families to thrive and make their own way independent of government intervention. But the policies at the IDHW threaten this lifestyle, and bureaucrats there are emboldened to implement their agenda at all costs. It's time Idahoans effected a culture shift to downsize influence and increase accountability in their government. This year, budget writers in the legislature cut or redirected nearly $66 million in funds from the agency in response to these harmful programs. But agency leaders are doubling down on their initiatives and goals, even if it means hiding their activities from the legislature. In March of 2023, the director of IDHW's Division of Public Health, Elke Shaw-Tolik, shared her displeasure over the legislature's decision to cut programs like Pride event sponsorships, COVID vaccines, and sex education from the division's budget.
We'll see some shifts in the politics of our state over time. I actually had a really great conversation with the legislator who said it's going to get worse before it gets better. This is some national movement of some of these very conservative organizations that are going from state to state to state to do exactly this. It's this disruption. Just know that we're not alone. It feels yucky and gross, but I think these sands will shift, and we'll have to just kind of ride this wave for a while, and do what we can. And we might be doing some things a little bit more quietly than we used to.
Leftism is entrenched in the IDHW and their programs. Their federally funded diversity bureaucracy, the Bureau of Equity and Strategic Partnerships, requires all employees to take diversity, equity, and inclusion training. The Bureau developed an agency-wide DEI policy to hold employees accountable. It even enacts their own federally supported programs like Get Healthy Idaho, where it effectuates race-based social justice and equity initiatives throughout the state. The IDHW perverts Idaho's culture through its extensive array of government programs and handouts. For example, the department funds Planned Parenthood-endorsed sex education curricula that exposes children to topics including porn literacy, cartoon depictions of porn, queering, sex education, and even how to get an abortion. Some of the content even coaches children how to hide their browsing history from their parents. These programs harm children by encouraging the same poor choices that lead to single parenthood, poor mental and physical health, and the destruction of innocent life. Funding programs harmful to children doesn't end there. Just last year, the IDHW spent thousands of dollars from public funds to support LGBTQ Pride events. This included the 2022 Boise Pride Festival featuring a drag show with child performers. Public outrage forced the department to revoke their sponsorship of the event, but they continue to fund similar pride groups throughout the state to this day. IDHW also subsidizes drug abuse through the Idaho Harm Reduction Project. Being almost completely government funded, this nonprofit uses your money to give away drug paraphernalia, condoms, and Narcan to drug users. They even support other harmful activities like sex work and transgenderism. When legislators tried to defund this wasteful program, the IDHW simply repurposed other federal grants to cover the gap. It is commonplace for the IDHW to go against the will of the legislature and use grants for their own purposes. The department was recently investigated for repurposing federal grants intended for daycare support to entrench government control of pre-K instead. In doing so, the department went $500,000 over budget and sent nearly all the money to just 4 organizations. Some, like the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, have a track record of promoting woke and Marxist ideology on children as young as preschool age. This is criminal malfeasance of tax dollars and deliberate disregard for the law and the parameters set by the legislature. How can the department run around the law and the legislature like this? All of this is made possible by just a few sections of Idaho code that grant the agency broad powers and provide no mechanism for accountability. It is time that the legislature held the bureaucracy accountable by permanently reducing the legal flexibility of the department in statute and cutting funds for programs the legislature did not authorize. Reducing the IDHW's power also includes reducing the number of Idahoans dependent on their services and curbing the department's mission creep to projects outside of their scope of authority. There must also be a culture shift within the IDHW. Though Dave Jepson is now retired as the director of IDHW, his replacement must be carefully selected to procure a culture of accountability to the taxpayer and their representatives in the legislature. Additionally, the legislature should hold the department leadership accountable for their intentional circumvention of the law. Reining in Idaho's rogue bureaucracies can bring the government back in check by the people. Cutting back unnecessary programs and restraining the power of unelected officials restores liberty and halts the socialist takeover of our state. Idahoans must act to preserve the gem state as a safe place to live, work, and raise a family.